And so this will be Jeannette Kopf and Scott Rosenthal. Jeannette is the executive director at the World Mining Museum. Jeannette has a background in child development and family studies from California State University, Long Beach. Jeannette has dedicated her career to preserving rich history of mining and the diverse cultures that have shaped Butte, Montana. She began as a seasonal education director in 2010, eventually leading to her role as curator and director. Scott is an associate professor and department chair of mining engineering at Montana Tech. He joined Montana Tech in 2013. Scott holds a Bachelor of Science in Mining Engineering from Montana College of Mineral Sciences and Technology, a Master's in Project Engineering and Management from Montana Tech, a PhD from South Dakota Mines, and is a registered professional engineer. He's got over 40 years of work experience, 30 of those in surface mining, gold, copper, iron ore, and coal, while living in the US, Australia, Indonesia, and Argentina. Scott currently teaches the Practical Underground Mining class and manages the Underground Mine Education Center, Montana Tech, through the Mining Engineering Department, and works closely with the World Museum of Mining. Please welcome these folks. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Show of hands, who's gone on the underground mine tour at the World Museum of Mining? Scattering. Good, good. Well, we're here to give you a few updates. For those of you who don't know where we're at, we're on the west side of Butte. Montana Tech's on West Park Street on top of the hill. And then the World Museum of Mining is just south and west of us. But we're tucked in a little corner. Underground, we've got about 3,500 feet of workings. We go down to 100 feet below ground. Below that, we have a problem. It's called water. So we've got groundwater up to about 112 feet below surface below us. On the north side is the Orphan Boy. It's a training lab at Montana Tech. Montana Tech's one of 14 mining schools in the US, and we're the only mining school with our own underground on campus. We do a lot of playing around there. And then we are connected to the Orphan Girl to the south. So the Orphan Girl mine opened in 1875, purchased by Marcus Daly and Associates in 1879. Fun fact, the Orphan Boy was originally a William Clark mine. And if you know about the history of the Copper Kings, they didn't like each other. Operations ceased in 1956. The Orphan Girl closed, ran out of ore. Reached a total depth of 2,731 feet from the collar. Reportedly produced over 7.5 billion ounces of silver, plus lead, zinc, and manganese. And in 1963, the World Museum of Mining was conceptualized. On July 18th, 1965. Officially opened, and this year is our 60th anniversary. Another fun fact is Jeannette Kopf has been there 15 years. 2006, tours began to the 65 level of the Orphan Girl. And in 2016, Montana Tech and the World Museum of Mining worked together for a SARTA grant, the Silverbow Superfund Advisory and Redevelopment Trust Authority, SARTA grant, to promote tourism. There was a need. We saw a steady growth in the underground tours. Numbers went from sub 1,000 to about 5,000. So our intent was to expand the tour from just the 65 level down to the 100 level. Expand the tour offerings. We also planned on constructing a mock-up of a working stope on the Orphan Girl. Allow visitors to visit the 100 level station. The station was an operating station when the mine was operating, so it wasn't something that we built. It was just something that needed to be accessed. And we requested about 18 grand with about 7,500 in matching through mostly volunteer time. View of the 100 level when we put in the grant. kind of rough, full of gunk and stuff. We had to do some remediation. A big chunk of that $18,000 was spent on asbestos removal, asbestos cladding of a pipe. Anyways, we did the work. We opened up the 100 level station for tours late 2016.
2017, it officially started.
So now we had another offering for visitors to come and see. We placed some mine equipment down there. The gates at the shaft are, personally, I think they're really cool. It's railroad rail that's been bent and twisted, and it's straight and true and shows some craftsmanship of old. So why are we doing this restoration, rehabilitation, rebuilding work? Sure.
Otherwise, he's going to take the whole thing. So I'm going to go why, let him breathe for a second. So why? Really, we began to see a need. We wanted to, it was mentioned, I think, 2 presentations ago that we wanted to do some maintenance and do some long-term maintenance prior to really having to do it. And so we sought input from some experienced underground mining engineers to see if what we were seeing was the same. Scott, of course, we rely on him heavily at the museum, and he was seeing it, but we wanted to get some backup. So we went to, Scott teaches senior design as well. What our theory at the museum is preserve the past, promote the present, and educate the future. So what a great opportunity to do this, to preserve our workings, to promote current work, and to educate the future through a senior design project. So they got together for a semester and they came up with a plan to kind of give us an idea of what we were looking at. So they provided the scope, some work estimates as well, and we went into here. And so here's some additional rock bolts. Is this the next one? Yep.
Yep.
He knows the technical, I don't.
So we saw some areas lacking. We saw a need for additional rock bolts. We saw areas above the timber structure that had collapsed and filled in the void. We were starting to see timbers showing their age, getting some cracking up close. So we're starting to see some movement. Cracks that we're monitoring are starting to get elongated. Just generally not in good repair. We don't know the age of these timbers. We know the mine closed in 1956, so they're at least 70 years old. Missing lagging on the walls and the ribs could allow rocks to fall out and injure someone. You want to do this part?
So we did go out to tender because this was obviously going to be a large dollar project, and our land is actually owned by the county, and so we're required to go out to tender. We had 4 bidders come in to give bids. The selection was based on a number of things: comprehensively addressing the RFQ, Montana company preferably. We are preserving Montana history, so. And then a Montana PE. It was vital that we had the PE on the job to make sure that we are doing everything right and everything stamped. We were also very, very focused on having a commitment to utilize the Montana Tech students, again, to educate the future. A great opportunity for some hands-on learning and some work, and there have been students that have been working on this project. And so Groundhog and Alpine Consulting did come in with the best bid, and Groundhog, I don't think that Nathan made it. He was going to try to come. He's down there. Oh, there's Nathan. Hi, Nathan. So he's here so he can help answer some questions as well.
And I know in the past, Nathan usually has a booth out there, but we're keeping him, we're keeping him busy. So again, we saw a need for the tours. The numbers on the left are the 65 tours that were just in numbers before in graphical form. Basically, once we began the 100 level tours, we doubled our visitations to the tours. Of the tours, the number that comes to mind last year, we had about 23,000 visitors to the museum.
28,000.
28,000, and then we had close to 9,000 do the underground tour, so about a third.
Which that includes several hundred school children as well.
And obviously the dip is 2020. So it's a huge revenue generator for the museum. You can only get so much out of gift shop sales, but and it's a very inexpensive tour if you haven't gone. So to make this happen, we had to empty out all of our displays so that we could give access room to the contractor. The contractor had to bring in specialized equipment. Our openings are not very big, 10 by 10, 10 by 12, 10 by 8 in some spots, so small specialty equipment's required. And then
So safety, of course, is important. We are still running tours while Nathan is doing the groundhog is doing the work. So the tours right now are more interactive because the miners working underground are giving our guests some explanations. The school kids love it, by the way. There's some future miners coming Montana Tech's way. Hard hats and lights have always been required. We are now requiring closed-toed shoes. Before it was just recommended. They're required for life. So if you go on the tour, make sure those closed-toed shoes. We've added safety glasses, which will remain a requirement. And then also earplugs for when the groundhog is running some equipment. We, even though it's a limited time, we do require the earplugs. We want to do a huge thank you to Montana Resource for helping us out and donating some of that safety equipment to make sure that our guests were having a great time, but safe at the same time.
So back to that PE requirement, we wanted a ground stability plan that we could be sure of that this is going to last more than 5, 10, 50 years. So Alpine Engineering came up with a ground control plan. It's basically split sets, rock bolts in the ribs in the back, and then additional 8 and 10 foot, 12 foot resin and rebars going into the roof. That gives us good long-term stability. And with the addition of straps going along, so this is looking up at the ceiling or the back. So straps and rock bolts, and sticking them in. And it's great to see that we've got a plan and we've got an installation that follows the plan. So we've got the resin rebar rock bolts, we've got the straps, we've got the split sets going in. We're starting to remove the old timbers going forward. Part of the safe work procedure is trying to get off the top of the timber all the loose muck that they can, and before they start pulling timbers out. So we're bolted up right up to the timbers, remove any loose material before we pull any new timbers out. Things that we didn't see that we now see once it's exposed. These timbers are not straight, so we've got a little bit of a bow there going on. We're adding additional ground support as the ground conditions change, so we're not just saying it's going to always be the same. So we started adding mesh and additional rock bolts in areas where we're getting a little higher cave, softer zones. We're running into clay seams, some errant veins here and there. Some more progress photos, again, keeping the bolting up before we pull out any of the timbers. This is 2 sets ago, and put a straight line across there. Those timbers have sagged. They're either been squeezed in or the weight from the top or both. When you pull the timbers out and kick them on the ground, they're still solid as hell. They're really good timbers, but they've served their purpose. This was this morning. We went down for a tour. We're at our last set before the station, before the actual shaft itself. And again, we've seen some sagging and some bowing.
Is that out yet, Nathan?
Again, we're keeping the bolting all the way up, adjusting the ground control plan which, as we need in this area shows that we've put a few extra straps and a few extra bolts in just to make sure that it stays up. Again, for the longevity of, we don't want to come back in and do this again. Upcoming work, Groundhogs brought a portable sawmill to site, so they'll be milling the timbers. Again, part of that interaction for our visitors. I say ours, I'm a part-time tour guide there too, so it's beer money. Provides beer money in the summer when I'm not teaching. So we're starting to get logs on site. We'll start cutting those timbers and then putting them back in. We're also replacing the secondary exit. So every mine needs at least 2 exits. There's currently a part wood, part rebar, part missing ladder that goes from the 65 up to the surface. The intention is this designed ladder with stations so that resting part way up will go all the way down to the 100. So we'll have a fully usable secondary access if we need it. Work to remain. We've got to do some utility works. We're bringing in city water to tie in to the mine. We're putting in new compressed air line down into the mine so that we've got compressed air. Obviously, there's work that has to go on occasionally, so we need compressed air and water. New electrical line for a fan. We're putting in a bulkhead and a small fan to improve the ventilation underground between the orphan girl and her orphan boy. And it's one of our students that's an employee of Groundhog. Emily, she's working on the bulkhead. Person of many talents because she can weld as well as drill and do lots of other things. One of the treasures found was a sign, was just stuck up on one of the timbers. No idea how old that sign is, but it does say if the fan goes off, get the hell out. And I'd like to encourage everybody who hasn't gone, or if you have gone, come again, to come visit the museum and the tour itself.
Total of the years have taken the tour.
Oh, goodness me. We'd have to add up those numbers.
It's the last 10 years has averaged about 4,000, 5,000.
4,000 to 5,000 a year the last, yes.
10 years, so there's at least 50.
And how's your safety record?
We've had no incidents. Personally, I've been on a tour with a lady in a wheelchair. That was probably the biggest struggle, is to get her back up and out. But she wanted to go, and by God, we went. So no, we've not had anything in twisted ankle, dirt in the eye, or anything to date.
Safety's priority, of course.
I was going to ask, have you guys established like a monitoring plan to see if you need to do additional work in the future? Like how stable is it going to be and how frequent do you have to check?
In essence, yes. The reason why this work is happening is because our director of maintenance and Scott here have been monitoring this situation for a couple of years as well. We do rely on Montana Tech to help us out quite a bit. We consider ourselves an extension of their underground laboratory. They're the ones who brought this tour to us, as well as several volunteers, and continue to do it. And so we will continue to monitor any future issues, which we hope there are not any, but yep.
Thanks.
One of the ways we monitor is we have an underground survey class that goes through there. So we'll be scanning the finished product. Next year we can go in and have the next class scan the finished product, and we can compare scans to see if something's shifted or moved, or if we have to put in a warranty claim maybe.
So Jeanette, if I wanted to come and visit the museum and underground, is there a reservation, or can I just show up any day, or how does that work?
Okay, I'm going to go in my spiel here. We have actually multiple options. If you do want to do the underground tour, we do highly, highly recommend that you make a reservation in advance, and you can visit our website at miningmuseum.org to purchase those tickets straight from our website. Our tours we do max them out at 14 per tour. For safety reasons, this was all thanks to COVID that we decreased the numbers. We try to keep those, we'd like to keep those numbers around 8 to 12, some of our tour guides prefer. But yeah, so go to miningmuseum.org to purchase that. If you're not an underground person, or if you're coming with somebody who's not underground, we also have 22 acres on the surface of Butte mining history, including a replica 1890s mining town, as well as the Orphan Girl mine yard where she once operated. So there's lots to see at the museum, and there's lots to do. And there's lots of activities coming this year, especially July 18th. That's when we're celebrating our 60th anniversary, and the celebration will go on to July 19th. But if you visit our website, you can purchase tickets and see a little bit more. And the website's new, so there's more coming on the website.
Any other questions before? No? Thank you, guys.